Isiah Thomas versus the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan. Those guys have hated each other since I want to say like the mid to late '80s. How how long do beefs last? Like, how do you hold a grudge for that long? Right? Doesn't that weigh heavy? But Isaiah and Mad and MJ, damn, their beef goes way back, and even like last weekend's All Star game, you can tell that there was still some some rivalry there. There was still some hatred in between those two. If you caught this video, you can pull it up, but on YouTube. But you can see that during the All Star 75, the greatest players, or whatever, 75-year history. They were doing some like introductions, and then Isiah Thomas goes to Magic Johnson and he whispers something in his ear. Right behind Magic was Michael Jordan, and you can tell how uncomfortable that situation was. It was really awkward because Michael, I mean, he obviously saw Isiah Thomas talking to Magic, and when Isaiah went up to Magic, he obviously he saw Michael Jordan there, right? There was no acknowledgement. All he did was talk to Magic, and he dapped him up and all this, and and then he leaves, right? And so, not a moment too soon after that, Magic he leans back to MJ, the other MJ, Michael Jordan, and he goes to MJ, Isaiah still hates you after all these years, and they started having a, they started laughing. You could tell you don't know what they're saying. Like there's no audio, but I mean, if any lip readers out there, if you can see what Magic said to MJ, it was so funny because you could obviously tell it was about Isaiah Thomas and how Isaiah still hates Michael Jordan. And you know what? Even for the longest time, Magic and Isaiah didn't talk too. And this stems back to all the way back to I think it was like the Dream Team 1992 when Isaiah Thomas wasn't picked to be part of that team, and a lot of people speculate that it was because of what MJ said that he didn't want him on the team, and I mean even in the Last Dance documentary, MJ even admits that it was not him. He did not ever say, "I don't want Isaiah Thomas on the team." Well, I did some research on this, and it turns out that it was actually Magic that it was his fault that Isaiah didn't become part of that dream team, and for years that hurt Isaiah. I mean, who wouldn't be hurt by that, right? But I think Magic and Bird and Jordan and all those guys, Karl Malone, and Barkley, they all probably all felt that if Isaiah was part of the team, he would, probably be not good for the chemistry of that team. So he was not selected to be part of that team. Other one, you know what, they ended up not like Shaq wasn't even part of that team, and he could have been. He was a rookie at the time, but they ended up they ended up putting Christian Laettner on that team. All these guys, all these great legendary players, and Christian Laettner. Like, what? That's so messed up, right? And Isaiah Thomas wasn't part of that team. Arguably, like the top three point guard in NBA history, winning back-to-back titles in from '88 to '90. Come on, man! But the bad boys of the '80s and the Bulls, they always got the better of the Bulls. They always got the better of the Bulls in the '80s, up until the time that they didn't, right? Which is so cool to see, like during the All Star game last weekend when you saw uh, MJ and Dennis Rodman, getting along, and they still have that connection, right? From their Bulls days. I don't know what Isaiah Thomas's connection is now with the rest of the bad boys. I don't know if him and Rodman are still cool, or Bill Laimbeer, or Vinny Johnson, all these guys from like John Sally, right? Actually, did one of them die recently? I forget if it was Bill Laimbeer or somebody else. But oh no, no, it was Chuck Daly actually, the coach of the Detroit Pistons. Damn, that was a really really good team back in the '80s. I love the Pistons, but at the same time, when the Bulls started to get better and they ended up, you know, um, eventually beating Detroit Pistons. It's funny because there was one year when Detroit beat Chicago. I don't know if it was a sweep or what, but they beat Chicago, right? And Chicago, they did the honors. They did the honorable thing, and then they shook everybody's hands. And congrats, you guys are going to the finals or whatever, and good luck to you guys, right? Following year, the Bulls end up sweeping Detroit, and then Detroit, all the bad boys, they didn't even shake the Chicago Bulls' hands. It was so, it was not cool at all. It's like something you have to do after a hard fought series, right? Maybe they were just embarrassed and they just didn't want to shake their hands. Like, okay, whatever, you don't want to shake hands, then that's your choice, right? That's your prerogative. So Michael took that personally, and ever since that non-handshake, yeah, he's hated Isiah. He probably hated him before that too, right? But yeah, Michael Jordan is, yeah, he's a he's cut from a different cloth, man. He's a different breed, and all these guys who proclaim that LeBron's the GOAT, this guy pads his stats and shit. MJ is the GOAT without without question. You ask any of the basketball historians, they will tell you without a shadow of a doubt, Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time, spanning spanning all generations, spanning all years of the game of basketball. If Dr. James Naismith could watch basketball right now and go back in time, and not go back in time, but like if he were to observe the game of basketball as it was meant to be played, era by era, without question, I bet you he would say MJ was the greatest and is the greatest of all time. He just sucks at baseball, and he sucks at um, being able to forgive, and he holds on to grudges. And I mean, fair play to him. Maybe you have to be like that when you are the greatest, right? You have to be an asshole. You have to be not the most well loved character. So, yeah, poor Isiah. He didn't get any acknowledgement from Michael, but then again, he snubbed Michael too, so we can't put that all on Michael. Michael snubbed Isiah, and Isiah snubbed Michael. Oh, another thing, I didn't realize Michael Jordan and Barkley are still. I didn't realize that they're no longer talking, right? I thought for a while, yeah, they beefed, but then they became friends. But no, obviously that's not true. During the All Star game, during that ceremony, Michael turned his back on Barkley. He didn't acknowledge him. He didn't shake his hand, but he went out of his way to shake everyone else's hand, like David Robinson and Patrick Ewing and all these guys, James Worthy, and yeah, so on and so forth. But, yeah, Michael can hold on to a grudge. It's kind of sad, really. But who knows? Maybe when they're 80 and they're on their deathbeds, maybe when they're 90, they'll probably like forgive and forget, right?